A time for celebration turns deadly. Gunfire rings out during the Kansas City Victory Parade. New tonight, we hear from one man who tackled someone with a gun in the midst of the violence. Lawmakers in Annapolis fighting for public safety. The push gaining support to make stealing a gun a more serious crime. Plus, efforts to pump the brakes on illegal street racing statewide.
It impacts the safety of our entire community.
We examined the new bills to crack down on stunt drivers and why law enforcement says it's necessary. The city buys out 2 hotels to give shelter to the homeless. The long-term impact an expert says this could have on your wallet.
This money is going to run out.
A mother says her 3-year-old daughter was sexually abused and it could have been prevented.
You blame CPS?
Without a doubt.
Fox 45 News Project Baltimore investigates how this was allowed to happen.
They dropped the ball 110%.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News at 10.
Thank you for joining us. I'm Mary Bubala.
And I'm Kai Jackson. It's a critical week in Annapolis as the conversation intensifies surrounding public safety and accountability.
That's right. 3 bills are on the table, including a renewed push to crack down on illegal street racing and stunt driving across the state. Lawmakers also discussing a controversial plan that would scale back charges for certain disruptions on school campuses. Critics call the timing of the bill tone deaf. And a third bill seeks to reclassify stolen gun charges as felonies following overwhelming support for the measure in a recent public poll.
Our team of reporters is covering all angles in Annapolis, beginning with Mackenzie Frost and today's gun crime debate in the House of Delegates.
Similar plans have been introduced in the past without much success, but that isn't stopping some GOP lawmakers from trying again this year. A new polling suggests more Marylanders are getting on board. The House Judiciary Committee taking up a familiar bill for debate.
My name is Delegate Rachel Munoz.
The legislation backed this year by Republican Delegate Rachel Munoz from Anne Arundel County, seeking to make stealing a handgun in Maryland a felony, upping the seriousness of the crime from a misdemeanor.
Categorizing the theft of handguns as a felony, we send a clear message that such actions pose a significant threat to public safety and will be met with serious consequences.
Delegate Munoz says Maryland State Police data suggests nearly 60% of firearm-related homicides in the state involved a handgun. That's why she says she's trying to turn this legislation into law.
Illegal guns in the hands of criminals take away our sons and daughters, mothers and fathers, grandparents and neighbors.
The Maryland Police Union.
We need to pull on multiple levers.
Testifying in support, arguing once a handgun is stolen, it's difficult to get it back on the legal track.
Every handgun that is stolen is automatically in the wrong hands. It is going into the black market. It is only being stolen because it is going to be used in a crime later on.
Some lawmakers raising questions about why the need for this bill when having a stolen firearm is a crime already.
Is there a difference between theft of a firearm versus unauthorized use?
There are children walking around the streets right now with illegal possession of firearms because they want to live through the night and wake up tomorrow morning. And so that's possession. But what we're talking about in this bill is people actually actively going into people's cars, into their homes, taking them off people, and stealing firearms to then flood the black market.
Supporters of the bill, like the Maryland Shall Issue Group, a gun owners' rights organization, argue lawmakers' decision last year to prohibit legal gun owners from bringing their firearms in certain places could lead to more stolen guns.
There's probably going to be more thefts from cars. It's idiotic to encourage people to leave their guns in a car. But that's what this General Assembly has done.
No votes were taken Wednesday.
That concludes the testimony on House Bill 659.
And lawmakers are met with Marylanders' growing support for change.
It boggles my mind, quite frankly, that it hasn't yet been made a felony.
The latest Gonzalez poll shows 88% of Marylanders support making the theft of a firearm a felony. After years of similar plans stalling.
This is one of those issues. It's a serious, very important issue. Stop playing. Don't play games.
It's unclear if this year will be any different. There are other similar bills being floated in both the House and the Senate, and we'll continue to monitor these plans as they make their way through the General Assembly. In the newsroom, Mackenzie Frost, Fox 45 News.
That brings us to our question of the day. Do you think lawmakers should make stealing a firearm a felony? So far, 96% of people who voted say yes. Head to foxbaltimore.com/vote to weigh in.
Lawmakers are debating a bill to block students from facing criminal charges for disturbing school activities. That's an additional charge often added when a violent crime happens on school property. Under this bill, students would still face charges for the crime they commit, but not that additional disturbing school activities charge. Supporters say the current system unfairly targets children of color, black children, and punishes typical child behavior. But at a time when juvenile crime is on the minds of people in Annapolis, opponents call the bill tone deaf.
So one of the things that's been very concerning to me, and I know many teachers who are leaving the profession because of disruptive behavior and some of those that you might consider normal.
This is a huge problem, and it's going to, I think, only encourage more juvenile issues in a time when we have a huge spike in juvenile crime.
The bill also includes college students, most of whom are legally classified as adults. Fox 45's Rebecca Pryor pressed the bill's co-sponsor on those concerns.
Those kinds of things need to be handled with age-appropriate internal school discipline. But if something is a crime, it can still be charged as a crime.
You talk about age appropriateness. Should adults be included in this bill?
So this doesn't really address adults.
Students in college are adults.
Students in college are adults, but the brain does not fully develop until age 25. And so most students in college are ages 18 to 21. They're still learning how to be adults. And again, on college, if somebody commits a crime, they can be charged with a crime.
Has passed the House twice before, but failed in the Senate each time.
Lawmakers are working to crack down on street racing and stunt driving following years of complaints about noise and disruption in Baltimore and across the state. The House will have a hearing on a bill to tackle the problem tomorrow. Fox 45's Keith Daniels joins us live with the changes lawmakers want to see. Keith?
Well, Mary, the story is about about cars and driving like this. But no donuts, no spin-outs. Some lawmakers call that dangerous behavior, and tonight they're cracking down on that behavior. Traffic at a standstill. A street stunt takeover. A car doing donuts, spin-outs in the middle of a busy downtown intersection. A dangerous, deafening deed that state lawmakers say is not just a local problem.
It's happening across the state. Baltimore, Anne Arundel, Prince George's, Howard, Montgomery, just to name a few.
Senator Pam Beidel, the Democrat from Anne Arundel County, in Annapolis Tuesday in front of the Senate Judicial Proceedings Committee with new legislation.
I just think it's time to put an end to this dangerous activity.
Beidel is the lead sponsor of Senate Bill 442, aimed at prohibiting street racing and exhibition driving. Bill putting the brakes on bad driving behavior. The senator with concerns.
Concerned about the damage to the roadway, the cost for the overtime for officers, or taking officers out of the post where they should be. And instead, they're here trying to stop events like this.
The bill's drafters are working out the details, but punishment, they say, could include impounding the offender's vehicle. Senator Beidel telling the committee there were 139 major incidents in Anne Arundel County involving scenes like spin-outs in the past 12 months. Others who support legislation to tackle the problem, including Laurel Police Chief Russell Hamill, are asking committee members for a favorable vote on the bill.
We need to help preserve the safety and welfare of all and achieve our goals of reducing traffic and pedestrian injuries and fatalities across our state.
Our goal as police officers is for this law to be on the books, and then us never to have to enforce it. Just the deterrence value is the goal, as is the case with DUI and lots of other major violations.
Well, we are back here live at St. Paul near, what is this we're coming up on, Preston. Now, the proposed bill is slated for a committee hearing in the House tomorrow. For now, we're live along the roadways here. Keith Daniels, Fox 45 News.
All right, Keith, be safe out there. Thank you. Well, street racing limitations have been in place in Baltimore for over a year. Councilman Yitzi Schleifer introduced a bill 2 summers ago that labeled illegal street racing and stunt driving, including dirt bikes, as a misdemeanor charge. It carries a $1,000 fine and up to 12 months in prison.
These are people who are shutting down intersections, participating in reckless behavior with destruction to city property, private property. They're disturbing the peace. Every time this goes on, it's typically done late at night. I get calls from seniors that they can't sleep. It's keeping them up. You hear it from far away.
Fox 45 News has done extensive reporting on the street racing concerns from residents and lawmakers statewide. You can find our full coverage online at foxbaltimore.com.
Absolute chaos in Kansas City, Missouri today as gunfire happens at the parade, the Super Bowl parade for the victorious Kansas City Chiefs beating the San Francisco 49ers. One person was killed, 22 others hurt. This is a live look right now at Kansas City, a calmer scene than it was hours ago. And this is what we know again at this hour. 8 children are among 22 people shot. The Kansas City radio station KKFI says one of its DJs, Lisa Lopez, died in that shooting. 3 people are now in custody. No members of the Chiefs were hurt. All of them are accounted for. Mayor Quentin Lucas of Kansas City says paramedics and the FBI agents responded to the shooting immediately. Even those who were at the parade but not near the shooting describe a terrifying emotional scene.
An immediate shift in the room where everyone just looked fearful and we saw people crying, and then I just kept reading everything going on, and it hit the magnitude of what was going on.
And take a look at this video circulating on social media reportedly showing a Chiefs fan tackling a suspect in the shooting. Police have acknowledged they know about this video but have not confirmed whether the man in the video being taken down is one of the suspects. That fan, though, talking about the moment he tackled the man, saying he knocked a gun out of the man's hand.
You don't think about it. It's just a reaction. So I take him down and I'm putting all my body weight on him. And then another Good Samaritan comes over and is helping me because I kind of got him high and the other guy gets him around his waist and we're just putting our weight on him and he's just fighting to get up.
This is a developing story, of course. Wake up with Fox 45 News for any overnight developments and download the Fox 45 News app for updates. Even when we're not on the air, just search WBFF in your app store.
Coming up on Fox 45 News at 10 o'clock tonight, Baltimore City's citation docket has been up and running for about 6 months, but nearly half of all police citations have been thrown out. Why the citations aren't good and how that could come down to former City State's Attorney Marilyn Mosby's practices. Baltimore City buys 2 hotels meant to house the homeless, but an expert believes it doesn't make fiscal sense. How it could impact your wallet.
Our next weather maker will be arriving as we head into the weekend. Cooler air pushing in on Friday before this arrives. It could bring us some snowfall. We're going to tell you how much we could expect around here coming up.
After the break, a mother says her daughter was sexually abused and it could have been prevented. Project Baltimore investigates the serious accusation and questions the Baltimore County Department of Social Services for an answer.
Project Baltimore is sponsored by the Snyder Law Group. Don't just sue them, Snyder them.
Tonight, a mother says her young daughter was sexually abused and it could have been prevented.
Project Baltimore's Chris Papps looks into this powerful allegation and found the Baltimore County Department of Social Services has some questions to answer.
April 25th, 2022. A mother and her 2-year-old daughter walk into a Baltimore County doctor's office. With tears in her eyes, according to this medical report, the mother expressed concerns of inappropriate sexual acts forced upon her 2-year-old by a then 13-year-old relative.
You stripped my daughter's choice and innocence by what you did.
This is that child's mother.
Yes.
Project Baltimore is not identifying her to protect her daughter.
We're still suffering.
Records show the doctor performed a basic examination which found no evidence of acute trauma. Then, the doctor's office made a phone call to the Baltimore County Department of Social Services to report concern for an inappropriate sexual encounter. 2 days later, the mother says she received a phone call from DSS.
They said that because of her age, they weren't going to pursue any charges.
According to this email sent the next day, DSS suggested a safe exam through the hospital and offered to send some resources. But the message was clear. There would be no further investigation by CPS or law enforcement.
When you were told by CPS that they weren't going to open a case, how did you react?
I was speechless.
In Maryland, cases of suspected child abuse are first reported to the local Department of Social Services, in this case, Baltimore County, which screens the allegation and determines whether it meets the legal criteria for child abuse and neglect. If so, the case is immediately assigned to a Child Protective Services worker who will make contact with the family. But according to this mother, the CPS unit in Baltimore County did not do much investigating. She says they never even interviewed the accused offender, the then 13-year-old who allegedly abused her daughter.
No, they didn't. They got his name, but they didn't even ask to speak with the parents or him.
That sounds almost unbelievable.
Yeah, it's... To say that this has been a nightmare is an understatement.
For the next year, this mother and her child struggled to heal and move on. Then, they got the news they feared. A second alleged victim had come forward.
I wouldn't wish what we have gone through on my worst enemy.
In May of 2023, this mother, who we are also not identifying, says her 3-year-old daughter was sexually abused in Harford County by the same teenager.
When Harford County authorities interviewed the alleged rapist, they learned about the accusation from April 2022, and a case was opened in Baltimore County. For the mother of that alleged victim, this finally meant that her daughter's case would be investigated. For the mother of the Harford County victim, whose daughter was victimized 1 year later, the news was sickening.
And I feel as though had Baltimore County CPS questioned him and done their job, that my child may not be a victim.
You blame CPS?
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. I think that they dropped the ball 110%.
In September 2023, the now 15-year-old was charged with second-degree rape in Baltimore County, nearly a year and a half after the alleged incident. In December, he pleaded to second-degree rape in the Harford County case. But he wasn't detained or sent to a treatment facility. He was given probation and counseling, then returned to Patterson High School in Baltimore City, which Project Baltimore first reported last month. His next court date, involving the rape charges in Baltimore County, is set for late February.
I feel relief in that now something's being done, but that's what it took. Now you've destroyed another family?
In a statement to Project Baltimore, the Maryland Department of Human Services said confidentiality laws prevent them from providing specific details, but DHS explained, before closing an investigation, we will determine the nature, extent, and cause of any child abuse or neglect, and if possible, the person responsible for the abuse or neglect, and share that investigative report with law enforcement.
You think your daughter's going to get justice?
The way things have been going and playing out, no, I don't. It seems to me that offenders, specifically juveniles, have way more rights than victims and their families. I hope that he's locked up. But I know that's not going to happen.
Project Baltimore will stay on this story. In the coming weeks and months, your legislators in Annapolis will debate legislation that would prevent sex offenders from taking classes inside of public schools. We will keep you updated on their progress. I'm Chris Pabst, and this is Project Baltimore.
Project Baltimore would like to hear from you. Do you have a story to share about your child's education or a concern you'd like our team to investigate? Call the tip line on your screen or send an email to projectbaltimore@foxbaltimore.com. You can also find us on social media.
A 13-hour barricade in D.C. comes to an end after 3 police officers are shot. Why police say they were at the house in the first place.
It's been a chilly night so far. Right now, it's already just about at freezing. A lot of places are going to drop to the 20s tonight. We have some warmer days coming. One of them's tomorrow. But then we're also going to be tracking some snow. Yep, we'll tell you all about it coming up.
Join us Monday, February 19th, 7 to 8 p.m. WBFF Fox 45, where Governor Wes Moore will join us for Your Voice, Your Future. I'm Armstrong Williams. Don't miss it.
Let's take a look at the Fox box right now. The top left ceasefire talks in Gaza are stalling as Israel and Hamas couldn't reach an agreement. The families of roughly 130 remaining hostages call the lack of a deal a death sentence. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu vows to continue the war until he achieves what he calls total victory over Hamas.
Top right, federal agencies struggling to finance border protection, reporting a budget shortfall of more than $5 million. ICE officials say the bipartisan Senate border bill would have given more than $15 billion for Homeland Security, but the bill failed in a House vote earlier this week.
On the bottom left, disgraced movie producer Harvey Weinstein is appealing his 20-year prison sentence on rape charges. His lawyers argue a judge infringed on his right to a fair trial. This is not related to a separate sexual misconduct charge. Weinstein maintains any sexual activity was consensual.
Bottom right, Hunter Biden is scheduled for a closed-door deposition at the end of the month. This comes as the House Oversight Committee is moving forward on an impeachment inquiry into President Joe Biden over possible involvement in his son's foreign business dealings. The Biden family has denied any wrongdoing. Well, last night we asked you if you think Hunter Biden's foreign business dealings create a national security threat. More than 10,000 people responded nationwide. 87% said yes.
It's everything I got right here, sir.
This doesn't make any fiscal sense.
There's mixed reaction over a plan to house Baltimore's homeless population in city hotels. Ahead at 10:30, Fox 45 News digs into the debate.
And city leaders say there's a lack of enforcement on low-level crime, why nearly half of the citation docket reports are being thrown out. We are following three big stories at 10:30. Baltimore police asking for the public's help in two shooting investigations. A closer look at the newly obtained suspect images from a deadly double shooting in front of a 7-Eleven. Half of the reports in Baltimore's new citation docket system are being thrown out. Why police may be incorrectly filling them out and what's being done to fix the issue. And two downtown hotels will now be used to house Baltimore's homeless population nearly 3 years after Mayor Scott promised to make it happen.
We begin there. Some critics are raising questions about where the money to fund the hotels is coming from.
Fox 45's Jeff Abel spoke to a taxpayer expert and a man who could benefit from the program. He joins us live with their perspectives. Jeff?
It appears Baltimore will soon be operating 2 more hotels, but what some housing advocates are calling a boom, others are calling a boondoggle.
It's everything I got right here, sir.
Mike Jones is one of an estimated 2,000 people who call the streets of Baltimore home. Where are you going to sleep tonight?
That's just it. I'm going to go up here. I got a blanket. I'm going to go and put that blanket on me or something.
His chance of finding temporary shelter may soon improve. Today, the city announced it intends to purchase these two hotels at Front and Gay Streets. Together, they amount to 152 rooms, which the city will spend $15.2 million to purchase. They'll soon become housing for the homeless. In a statement, the mayor defended the purchase today, writing, "The acquisition of these hotels is a critical expansion of our ability to address the needs of our most vulnerable residents."
This doesn't make any fiscal sense.
Because the deal is being funded with federal relief funds, taxpayer advocate David Williams warns it could prove to be one boondoggle of a deal.
The city is using federal relief funds to pay for these hotels. That runs out at the end of 2025. So the city, and by extension, taxpayers, are going to be left with this financial burden.
The city is paying an outside management firm to manage the hotels for the first 9 months. Those who live and work in the neighborhood are watching with a cautious eye.
Hopefully they give them help while they're here and the corner don't just turn into the corner.
Buying hotels is a short-term solution and doesn't solve the long-term solution of homelessness in Baltimore City.
Would you stay in a hotel like this?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I was staying there.
Experts say the hotels will hardly cure the homeless problem, but for Mike Jones, it could provide one more chance of getting out of the cold.
There's nowhere to go for nobody.
The city insists tonight it will be using the hotels as emergency shelters, not as long-term housing. We're live tonight. Jeff Abel, Fox 45 News.
Jeff, thank you. Well, Baltimore City received more than $600 million in federal relief funding during the pandemic. And a comptroller report earlier this month revealed how the city is spending the federal dollars. A taxpayer watchdog told Fox 45 News he was concerned by some of the line items.
$16 million flowed to the Baltimore Civic Fund. As you know, they're delinquent on the Secretary of State's website with their charitable filings. Number two is Healthcare Industry Grant Corporation, $3 million. We didn't know who they are. They're not on the Secretary of State's website as a public charity registered to do business in the state of Maryland.
Open the Book says the city spent money on a number of charitable organizations that were either listed as closed for business or are not licensed as charities in Maryland. Well, just over 6 months into Baltimore's new citation docket, city leaders reveal nearly half of all police citations have been thrown out. Fox 45's Maxine Stryker explains why the citations are not good and what's being done to fix the issue.
The citation docket launched by Baltimore City State's Attorney Ivan Bates last year was meant to tackle low-level quality-of-life crimes. Crimes once ignored by the previous administration under Marilyn Mosby. But the effectiveness of the docket is now being called into question by several Baltimore City Council members.
Why is the volume of citations issued so low?
It's still a process for us, right, to issue a citation. Even if we see that individual doing something, we still have other policies that doesn't say as soon as we engage, we're automatically issuing a citation.
Since the docket launched last July through December 2023, the state's attorney's office says just 35 citations issued by BPD made it to court, but about half were rejected by police internally, meaning they were legally insufficient to proceed to prosecution. This year, in January, police have issued 8 citations, and the state's attorney's office says 6 were rejected. Police saying it often comes down to errors in the language, pointing out officers haven't written citations in a long time.
Unfortunately, this sounds like officer errors that could be corrected.
The state's attorney's office says they offered to train BPD on issuing citations correctly, but haven't been taken up on the offer. Meanwhile, they say other agencies they trained, including MDTA and Amtrak, are having little to no issues writing legally acceptable citations.
This BPD is the anomaly here in these data sets, and I would have more reassurance as to the effectiveness of this had BPD taken SAO up on the offer for the training.
Police promising to connect with the state's attorney's office and close the gap as council members worry the citation docket isn't living up to expectations. Maxine Stryker, Fox 45 News.
Baltimore police say a 14-year-old was arrested for bringing a loaded gun to the stadium school this afternoon. The gun was found in the teen's backpack. He was arrested after a brief foot chase with police. Now, this comes as police are asking for the public's help in two recent shooting investigations, including a quadruple shooting last night in East Baltimore and a deadly shooting, a double shooting in front of a 7-Eleven on Bel Air Road. Well, Fox 45's Vincent Hill has another story.
New Gonzalez poll numbers show President Biden has a 54% approval rating among Maryland voters. 44% disapprove of his job, while 2% are undecided. It is a sharp contrast from when the president first took office, as his approval rating in Maryland was north of 60%. Pollster Patrick Gonzalez says it's a concerning statistic. Okay, let us know what you want us to go to next. I'm sorry for...
Okay, we'll take it from here. I know we got some technical issues going on, but what we also have is some snow that we are tracking. Starting on Friday night into Saturday. I've got it in the potential category, or at least possibilities of actually accumulating snow. We'll be right back and we'll talk about that. All right, welcome back. It's been a pretty decent day. Happy Valentine's Day, by the way. And, well, we had some chilly air. We had some breezy conditions, but that was the only thing we really had to handle.